When I woke up from that coma, it was like the whole world was crashing down on me. I was alone. I mentioned this in one of my videos the other day. Like, I was almost angry at the hospital, the doctors for keeping me alive. Like, alcohol had beaten me down so much. My self-esteem, my want to be on this planet just wasn't there anymore. I had completely given up on life. And I was lying there to doctors saying, Rick, we didn't think you would make it. Another doctor said, you carry on, Rick, 6 months time, you'll be gone. I guess that was my rock bottom. That was the moment I really held up my hands and said, I can't do this anymore.
Hey everybody, this is Will Gordon from the Willpower Podcast, briefly coming on before this next excellent episode to remind you all that did you know that 76%, you heard that right, 76% of you that follow my content regularly have not subscribed to my channel yet, and I'm really wondering why that is. So if you could, the easiest and freest way to help support my show is to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of it. Like it, share it, send it to people that you think it might help. Because that's what I'm doing here. I've been through it. I lost my liver. I lost my kidney. I had such a severe alcohol addiction that I feel you. Okay. I understand what you're going through. And I'm really hoping that these stories are helping. So if you want to hear these stories keep coming, then please hit that subscribe button. It'll be the best decision that you'll ever make. Thank you so much for supporting me. And I really hope you enjoyed this next episode. I heard it was a pretty good one. Take care, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Willpower Podcast. Thank you so much for being with me today, guys. A super fantastic episode ahead of us. I've got Richard Ratcliffe with me today, a man who's been sober 9 years after addiction pushed him to the edge and nearly took his life completely. He hit that kind of rock bottom that brings profound loss, deep shame, and real grief. But he came through it, faced the harder truths underneath, and turned it into something that helps pull others out too. So Richard, thank you so much for coming on the Willpower Podcast. My first question to you. You've been open about how addiction was really a way of running from a deeper pain, avoiding your own soul. So take me back. What was going on in your life when that escape felt necessary?
From as early as I can remember, I had this deep fear of the world, this want to be seen, this anxiety, and this deep-rooted shame. And I would look at all the other kids at school, and it was like, to me, it was like they'd been given this special handbook on how to manage life, and I just felt different, And I guess the addiction came way before the substances,
Yeah.
I would hide the person I was, the fears I had. I would wear masks just to fit in. And yeah, that was my reality. And, around the age of 12, 13, drink and drugs were thrown into the mix. And all of a sudden I felt like the universe had given me this medicine, this cure, this gateway to the world. All of a sudden, all those fears, all them anxieties I had as a kid, gone. Yeah. I felt like I could fit in with anyone, speak to anyone. I felt like I was seen, not just by others, but by myself. And I thought I landed,
Yeah, man. It's so crazy, isn't it? I was the same way. I just wanted to fit in. I felt like I was wearing a skin that didn't fit right. That's like how I like to explain it. I was in like a suit that didn't fit right my whole childhood. So once I found alcohol, that for me was the breakthrough. That was the aha moment. Like, wow, I can be this person without the inhibitions of having to think of what I'm saying. I'm just going to say what I'm saying because that's what alcohol did for me. It just loosened me up. It made me kind of more vulnerable and open and just more me. I wasn't hiding who I was, but I didn't realize the repercussions that would come thereafter, right? Walk me through one of those moments early on where you knew things were getting out of hand, but you kept going anyway. What was that internal battle like for you?
By the age of 18, I knew I had a problem. I had to drink every single day, but as a young man, I just simply didn't know where to turn to, who to turn to. And that's where the shame came in and governed my entire existence, Mm-hmm. And I think I did one doctor's visit when I was when I was 18. I think that was my moment of trying to let the world know that I'm in a sticky situation. I remember she just looked at me confused and she said, "Okay, Rick, whatever you do, don't stop drinking. You might die." And many watching telling an alcoholic to not stop drinking
Mm.
is just a green flag for me to go, vroom,
Yeah.
and I ran with that.
Yeah. Crazy. It's crazy telling us to stop drinking. It's almost like an impossible feat. Justify it.
What lie did I tell myself to justify the drinking?
Yeah.
Alcohol was kind of my identity. I thought people gravitated towards me because I was that fun person. I was the chaotic person. I was the one that people wanted to be around. So I guess in a strange way, that was my justification,
Yeah.
And I felt like without it, who would I be? And
Without
who
it.
would I have in my life?
Yeah. Without it, who would I be? I was so scared of that as well. I thought if I wasn't drinking, I wasn't partying, then I wasn't participating in the fun, in the cool, right? Being a part of that clique that made you a little more popular, a little more seen, right? All those things that I craved because of my insecurity issues. So, Richard, so you've said addiction almost killed you, brought profound loss and pain. What was the absolute lowest point for you? The moment where it all hit and you couldn't deny it anymore?
It's funny because in a sick way, I am beyond grateful how destructive my alcoholism was
Mm-hmm.
in a very short time. But from the age of 18 to 24, it was daily drinking, in and out of detoxes, in and out of rehabs, and bursts of psychosis, dream withdrawals. To answer your question, the worst point was when I was 24, nine years ago.
Yeah, what
You
happened?
know, alcohol stole everything from me. No one trusted me anymore. My loving family had got to a point where they, had exhausted all avenues to try and help me. And I was at this point, I was drinking 2 liters of vodka a day. So I don't know what you guys use in America, but two big bottles of vodka a day,
Yeah.
morning to night.
Jeez.
Every morning was maybe you could relate to this, but every morning was the same thing. I would wake up, I would feel myself slipping into seizures, and I had no option but to get as much alcohol down me as I could. And at this point, I despised alcohol. I would force it down me, but in that moment, I got the first drink down in the morning. It felt like I could breathe, but ultimately, like my body, my mental health was just deteriorating. 24 hours rushed to hospital. At this point, I'd already had about 6 seizures due to withdrawals. And when I got to the hospital, they couldn't, no matter how many benzos and anti-seizure medication they gave me, they just couldn't stop me from slipping back into more seizures. So that's when they made the call to put me into an induced coma.
Oh my God, man.
And when I woke up from that coma, it was like the whole world was crashing down on me. I was alone. I mentioned this in one of my videos the other day. Like, I was almost angry at the hospital, the doctors for keeping me alive. Alcohol had beaten me down so much. My self-esteem, my want to be on this planet just wasn't there anymore. I had completely given up on life. And I was lying there to doctors saying, "Rick, we didn't think you would make it." Another doctor said, "You carry on, Rick. 6 months time, you'll be gone." I guess that was my low. That was my rock bottom. That was the moment I really held up my hands and said, I can't do this anymore.
Wow, Rick. That's Thank you so much for sharing that, man. Because that's hard to get through. I'm sure I can see it in your face. You were only 24.
24, and the doctor said, "Yeah, Rick, you carry on. You're not making 25."
Oh my God. Now you were drinking to a coma. What was happening? What was going on?
The hospital put me into the coma just to control my seizures
Mm-hmm.
because I kept I kept dropping into seizures, into seizures, into seizures.
Why
They
was
put
that?
me
Why
into
why
an
why though? How? Like, what was going on that you kept falling into seizures so often? I was blacking out, and I don't remember going to a
just
seizure.
with withdrawal from the alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm yeah, I mean, I remember having, like, intense shaking and, like, not and, like, convulsing and shortness of breath, but never to the point where I got into a seizure. Yeah.
Because ultimately, by this point, I was on my sixth seizure, and my body and my brain just it couldn't hack it anymore. They were worried. The more seizures I go into, like, will I come out the other side, or will there be long lasting effects on the brain? Basically,
Yeah.
yeah. It was. I've since being and working in addiction, like, I've witnessed seizures, and me having my own seizures, it is like blackout, and you don't really remember much, but the people around you, it's terrifying. It's
Mm.
terrifying. Yeah.
It's terrifying for them, it's terrifying for you, it's terrifying for the staff, it's terrifying for everyone,
Yeah.
man. So that I kinda wanna circle back as another thing you said too, like, you were almost upset. I can relate to that so well. I kept avoiding the hospital because I knew that I was dying. I was upset to get healed because I didn't feel worth it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. 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 And that's something I relate to massively. Like, I caused so much pain through my addiction, not just to myself, to the loved ones, and the shame that I carried with that. And yeah, there was a part of me that said that this world will be better without me.
What was the hardest earned lesson through all that shame? Is there, like, a particular story or something that you'd like to share with us that can kind of elaborate on that?
So ultimately, like, shame thrives and lives in secrecy,
Mhm.
and
Mhm. Yes.
addiction is secrecy. The more secrets I held on to, the more I hid my use. I always say I was a beautiful kid, I'm a beautiful man today. I've always had such strong values, and I've noticed this in addiction nearly all the time. Like, addicts are such beautiful people. They care so much about others, and I guess my addiction led me to live outside of the lines of my own values. And I could feel that spiritually, and the shame that came with that was agonizing. And it's not something you want to express to the world.
Yeah.
Ultimately, shame lives in silence, and shame is cured by speaking your truth, and that's the reason I live with such vulnerability today, and share my story, because not only does it help me, but if it helps someone else, speak their own truth, and I always see shame as like a backpack full of boulders, and the more we don't talk about it, the heavier it gets. But when we start sharing the bad things we've done in our lives, the horrible places we've gone to, and there's others in this world that understand that,
Yeah.
and they can hold your truth without judgment. And I'm not saying the shame disappears overnight, but it definitely
Yeah.
relieves it.
Yeah, it's a lifelong journey. That's why I find journaling so beneficial to me, is because it helps me get my thoughts on paper, especially with concepts like shame or regret or remorse. I really get a lot of beneficial value out of just writing down my thoughts about those really difficult moments of when I was using, when I was drinking, because it kind of helps clear the cobwebs out, and then I can get to the essence of what's trying to help me in this like practice, right?
Yeah, I relate massively. Writing is one of our biggest tools, biggest gifts. It's
It-
like holding a mirror to our subconscious. There's things we'll write down that our mouth will never want to say.
yeah.
It's a beautiful tool. Yeah.
It is, and because it forces your brain to have to think in a different way. Because when you're
Yeah.
typing, I feel like you're just kind of like producing. You're producing, producing, producing. But when you're consciously sitting there and writing the words out that you didn't even realize were kind of in your head, and you're putting it on paper, it is a very helpful practice. It's making you have to do the work in a way that wouldn't be as normally easier or whatever. So You've talked about having to surrender. What finally broke you open to that? Was it the moment when you're 24, or was
Yeah,
it something else?
it was that moment. And like I said before, I knew I had a problem at 18. Around the age of 20, I really knew I had a problem. And my last 4 years of drinking, I didn't want to drink. I would cry whilst drinking in the morning. I would despise looking at the alcohol. So the want to change was there. For 4 years, it was there. Now that true surrender was found on that day in that hospital bed. You know, it was the moment where kind of my ego just completely died, and I ultimately held up my hands and said, look, I am done. I need help. I'm willing, and uh, I will do whatever it takes, or at least give it my best shot. Because I realized that my thinking had ultimately got me nowhere. And it was about time that I started relying on other people and being open to finding a new way of life.
When you were lying in that hospital bed, what was the moment of surrender like for you? Like what was going through your head? Like what kind of questions or what things were kind of popping up that you were having this actualization clarity moment? Like what was going on?
I think it was a mix. It was extreme fear. It felt like the whole world was imploding down on me. But I was a 24-year-old boy, basically.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, that's young.
I was a boy, and alcohol stripped me of many of my growing up years. And I found that small part of me that I knew I had dreams. I knew I could have a beautiful life. And the one thing that was holding me back was the alcohol. So,
Yeah,
I know.
I'm trying to like picture you at like 22. Who were you like? Like, what was that version of you like when you were drinking? Like, tell me about that version so people can kind of get a better
So,
picture of who you.
right, round on 22, I could still hold a job down,
Mm-hmm.
but it'd be morning drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have my bottle of vodka before getting into work just to
Yep.
level me out. And like 90% of the time, like stuck by my values. I was a punctual person. I was a kind person, but deep inside of me, I hated who I was, and I felt like I was carrying this secret. I thought it was a secret. I think most of the people in my life knew the route I was going on, but when you're in the madness, you think you're so sneaky and cunning. I would go from like whiskey to vodka and think, oh, no one will be able to smell it on me.
Yep. Same.
I'm a genius.
I thought it was. I thought I was the smartest person on the planet with hiding in alcohol. I
Yeah,
was the dumbest. One time, I hid
yeah.
it in a bush that we were going to pass this bush to get into the car to go on do some event. My wife and I, and my wife found it. She's like, "Is that an alcohol bottle like hidden?" That's how desperate I was getting because I ran out of all the spots in our apartment. Yeah, like really sad, pathetic
Yeah.
behavior. You know,
I relate to that massively. I would hide my bottles in bushes, and in a drunken way, I would either write down or put notes on my
really,
phone,
really.
like
That's
where I'd hidden them.
I've never
And
heard of
there would
that
be
before.
some nights when I was really withdrawing bad. I would go through my notes, and I would be going around my town looking through bushes, trying to find my stash bottles. Yeah,
Get out. That's crazy, man. Crazy because I can relate to it so well. But you had the foresight in the smarts. Well, smarts in the sense because we're so good at doing this, but
yeah, yeah.
leaving yourself notes. That's the extra level of going for it. I guess you would say.
I think at the time, because around 22, I was living with my parents. They were witnessing their son kill himself,
Mm.
which, secrecy was even bigger in my life then, because my parents knew I had a problem, but they didn't know the extent of it. And, I would stash bottles in my sofa in my bedroom, and I would stash bottles outside, like I said, in bushes. Yeah, it was bad. Round 22 was when I tried my first. I went against the doctor's suggestion. I was done. I said, okay, this is it. I don't want to drink anymore. I locked myself in my bedroom at my parents' house. I loaded up on gallons of water, sick buckets, and I was like, okay, Brick, you sit in the bedroom for 4 days and you'll be all right. By the third day was when the extreme tremors came in, and ultimately, like, and I remember it so well today. Like, I screamed out, my parents rushed in, they saw me, they dragged me down the stairs. I was like in the middle of the seizure. They took me to my first ever detox in hospital, which I did 7 days. And within 15 minutes of leaving that detox, I was in the off license buying my next bottle of vodka.
At 22. Yeah. Was there ever a
And
time where you were enjoying any of this drinking? Like, it was just to survive, it sounds like.
yeah, it was just to survive. In hindsight, it's funny because maybe at the time I thought I was enjoying some aspects of it,
Sure.
but in recovery and learning who I am as a true person, who Rick truly is, I look back at moments that I used to think I would enjoy, like the party and stuff, and that isn't me. It was never me. I'm a calm guy.
Yeah.
I appreciate low key,
Yeah.
small events that I can chill with people and get to know them on like a beautiful, calm level. That
Absolutely.
party guy, was just the Rick I thought I had to be for the world,
You know,
It's what everyone else was doing.
it's crazy, Rick. Like, you're saying things that I'm now coming to, like, I'm like, oh my goodness, I was doing that. I really am not a big party guy. Yet there I was putting on this face to show to my friends, and that, like, I am this version, like I am the wild man. I can be loud and funny and whatever, but I'm much more like you. I mean, you're very stoic and you're very quiet and you're very contemplative as far as like just your thinking, and you're very well thought out. So it's interesting to me to picture you as a loud, kind of voracious drinking version of you. It's really kind of
Yeah.
difficult as we're talking here
Yeah.
to
I
imagine
mean,
that version.
even looking back at my own self is hard to picture it.
So, Rick, you've lost friends to this disease and carried real grief from it. Tell me about one of those losses. How did it shape you, and what does it still feel like today?
Yeah, over the 9 years, and ultimately being involved in recovery and helping people with addiction. It's a cruel illness. I've lost more than I can count with my hands. This year, I lost a good friend, and last week, I lost a friend out here
I'm so
where I'm
sorry.
living in Bali. Yeah,
Was it from?
yeah. He ultimately overdosed, and you know, he was such a good man.
I'm
He
so
was
sorry.
yeah, he was such a good man. He had so much to give to this world, and it's the nature of this illness, and yeah, yeah. And like, I always do worry about getting those phone calls, and I thought I'd grow numb to it over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It never does.
Never.
When I received the phone call last week, I was in the gym, and I thought, Rick, just go have an ice bath. You'll be all right. And I was sitting there in the ice bath, and I was thinking, what are you doing? Go feel.
Yeah, man.
Because ultimately, my that's been my sobriety and my recovery is it's allowing myself to feel, without running away.
Yeah, well, that was me too. I loved alcohol so much because it was an instant time machine escape. You could just transport to a different realm of feeling. So you didn't have to feel whatever I was trying to avoid. So you're 9 years in now, coming up next month. Congratulations, man. That's
Thank you.
just amazing. I'm coming up on 3. That's just amazing. I'm just so proud of you, man. So you're 9
I
years in, coming
appreciate
up
that.
next month. You've said sobriety alone isn't enough. You have to choose actually to live and face everything. So what were those first moments like when the numbing stopped and all the shame and the grief and the feeling unworthy came flooding in?
Agony. Absolute agony. So painful. I screamed and shouted. I thought I've just gone through hell the last 10 years in my addiction, And I've walked into recovery, and what is this? I got hit with a train of emotions, facing all the parts of me that I'd been avoiding since I was that 12-year-old kid. And yeah, I never like to sugarcoat it for people, but like early sobriety for me was agonizing, you know? It was so hard.
Was there a day that you almost slipped up?
I wouldn't say there was a day where I almost slipped up, but there were days where I would lie there screaming into my pillow, just wanting it all to end. I ultimately knew if I went back down the route of drinking, it would result in death. But there was moments in early sobriety where my reality was so painful, death seemed like a easy escape in the moment. And what I realized in hindsight is every one of those days, you know, where I was in that agony and I was allowing myself to feel feelings, and the pain and the damage I had caused was ultimately building me up to the person I am today, because I wasn't running from it.
Yeah, you were.
I was,
Yeah, you weren't running from your life, you were running towards it.
yeah.
Old patterns may be abandonment or codependency stuff. You've touched on how addiction ties into avoiding the soul. This is a really important part I wanted to get into. What deeper wounds surfaced once you got clean, and how do you sit with them now?
Over the years and helping others and understanding my own addiction at a deeper level, like I believe codependency is and abandonment is a big theme that runs throughout nearly every story of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not just when I talk about abandonment as well, I'm talking about abandonment of self ultimately. And like me and you relate to to that younger feeling of wanting to be seen. And ultimately, that's the way I perceive codependency, you know, that want to grab anything external to make myself feel whole. Just because I'm 9 years sober now doesn't mean that those traits don't still live with me sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, life is life. We get hit with hardships, whether we're sober or not. For me, it's all about awareness, you know, understanding what are my motives behind certain behaviors, where are they stemming from, and that awareness has been the key to my sobriety, and not looking at myself with shame.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I am going through a hard point in my sobriety and I am maybe acting out in certain ways, just having that awareness, not looking at it with shame, speaking my truth, and yeah, working through it.
Yeah. This is a good segue here. Life still throws chaos. How does real
Yeah.
world stress like that test your sobriety these days?
I mean, I think now I've got to a point where I wouldn't really say it tests my sobriety. I mean, I've really switched my mindset to see all hardships in life as opportunities of growth,
I
you
like that.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, we all know who we are. Our spirits are high. We have money in the bank and we have loved ones around us. We all know that person, that true, content, happy person. But for me, it was about really finding out about the Rick when life isn't going his way. And I truly believe that is where we find our true selves.
That's beautiful, man. You've
Yeah.
turned a lot of this pain into something bigger. If you could sit down with the version of you at your rock bottom, avoiding the mirror, what would you say to him now, straight up?
Kind of gave me shivers a little bit.
Good.
I'd tell him that things are going to be all right, and that I love him.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
And I carry him with me everywhere I go. I truly believe everyone has a shadow version of themselves, a younger version of themselves, and that person walks with us everywhere. We can ignore them, but they'll scream at us.
Yeah.
24-year-old Rick, who was lying in that hospital bed, he wants to be acknowledged. He wants to be brought along on this journey. And in the 9 years, I've achieved the most amazing things, and I've taken him along for the ride. Like last year, one of my childhood dreams was to find a wild tiger, and last year I flew to India, spent like 2 weeks in the jungle there, and on the last day we were there, the mother tiger came out. I really felt like 24-year-old Rick in that hospital bed was there with me, acknowledging, it was like my way of being like, I've done this for us.
What would 24-year-old Rick say back to you?
He'd probably say, you done good. You
I
done
think he would
good.
too, man. I think he'd be super pumped for you.
The dreams seemed unimaginable back then.
Yeah.
The thought of what I've achieved in those 9 years, it didn't even come into my head. Staying sober one day at a time, and I do like to stay extremely present in my recovery, in my sobriety. I don't like to project, but good things start coming our way when we get sober.
I say it all the time. I
Yeah.
say, I'm finally me. I'm finally who I was intended to be when I was born into this realm of reality that we're all experiencing together.
Yeah.
Finally, when I got off the booze, I started laughing in a genuine way. I started crying in a genuine way. I started doing everything in a very clear-minded, poetically profound, calm, peaceful way, man. I'm just so happy. So, Rick, let me do some speed round questions for you, okay?
Cool, let's go.
The biggest lie addiction told you.
The biggest lie addiction told me. That's a tricky one.
It is tricky.
I know.
For a speed round,
I know.
I was like, that one's actually
I
kind of.
know it's quick fire. Biggest lie addiction told me that life would be better with addiction in my life. Yeah,
That's good.
It was like addiction was my best friend. He was there for me in my darkest moments. He soothed the pain. He told me every day, don't get rid of me. I'm here for you.
Yeah, I'm your buddy. But
And it was a lie.
Yeah, that was a lie. The hardest emotion in early sobriety.
Shame.
One loss that never leaves you.
One loss that never leaves me. In regards to
You take it however you want.
physical law,
Take it however you want.
as much as I'm grateful for my story, like I really am, maybe one loss that I do carry is that loss of childhood.
Yeah, man. A feeling
But
that.
as I said, I would not rewrite my story
Yeah, it's funny, right? Me too.
in a sick.
I sit and I say it all the time. I'm like, oh, the shame and the guilt and oh my gosh, the guilt, the shame. There's so much of it, but you're right, man. Like having to almost die was the best thing that's ever happened to me, which makes no sense because it's probably, people are like, what is he talking about? And I'm sure my life won't be as long as a normal person because I'm on so many meds, but it's like, I have 2 other organs in my body from 2 people that were willing to donate their organs to me. And I'm just so profoundly grateful for that. So, I don't know where I was going with that. I just wanted to say it. The feeling that hits strongest now that you're clean.
Gratitude.
What gets you through a dark day today?
Feeling.
A myth about rock bottom people still believe.
Rock bottom is not and doesn't have to be the darkest day of your life. Rock bottom is simply the day you decide that you've had enough. Just because mine was fighting for my life doesn't mean yours has to be the same. I believe a rock bottom is when you say I'm done.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? It's like the final coming to timeout. This is no longer sustainable. I'm done with this. An unexpected thing that pain taught you.
How to love myself.
2 more. One word to your old self.
One word to my old self. Just love, really. Love.
Last one. What's keeping the fire going today?
Helping others.
Beautiful. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Rick, thank you so much for coming on the Willpower Podcast, man. This has just been a fantastic conversation. You've been through so much, man, and I feel for you because we're very similar. I think we're very thoughtful, caring people, and we got lost in something that is really easy to get lost in because it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's in every social gathering that we have as humans. Although studies are showing that drinking is going down, which is really encouraging
Yeah,
news.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
So, Rick, before we jump off, is there anything that you'd like to leave us today with?
No, just I appreciate you having me on. Like, I appreciate what you're doing. I have a lot of love for your story, a lot of love for your journey, and a lot of respect for your pursuit of spreading awareness. When I lost a friend last week, like I kind of had a moment of anger and why am I doing this?
Sure.
What's the point?
Mhm.
And then I realized, no, this is exactly why we do this.
Yeah, exactly. It's not all glitz and glamour and like, look how awesome I am. I overcame this thing. No, man, it's really tough still. Life is still messy and it's a struggle, but it's manageable
Yeah,
now, right? We have the
yeah,
capacity to handle really tough days in a meaningful way instead of impulsive and it wasn't thought out. Now I feel like we kind of know ourselves better and we love ourselves more and we're vulnerable and open and honest enough to share those in hopes that it helps as many people as we can.
yeah. Look, if our conversation today helps save one person's life or help someone make one small change in their life, then we've won,
Yeah, brother. Absolutely, man. That's what it's all
Yeah,
about. If we can just change one person's mind, those late
yeah.
night YouTube comments or DMs, whatever I get, that say, man, you helped me from a relapse that was coming and you stomped on it. And that was one of the biggest compliments I think I've ever gotten. That was a recent one. So thank you to that person that sent that to me. Thank you. I'm glad that I could help.
And can I ask why what drives you to do this?
What drives me to do it? I wish I had a version of me saying these things, talking about liver transplants, talking about your levels in your blood and like what to pay attention to. Because when I was going through it and I was lying in that hospital bed, I was like, why didn't I pay attention to this? Why didn't I have someone I could relate to? That's why. That's why I started it, man. I wanted to make a very serious subject that a lot of podcasts like to put a lot of glitz and glamour and spin it and make it like the shocking things that get clicks. But I don't necessarily adhere to that. My message is true. It's just I wish I had someone when I was in that position to look at, to hear stories about, to be inspired by, because I was uninspirable. There was nothing saving me besides ultimately death. So that's why. That's why.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
And our stories are similar, and we went to some dark places, and I believe we both come from the same standpoint as like we want to express the truth of this stuff.
Yeah, we just want to get to
You
the
know,
truth of it all. We just want to
yeah,
lessen the suffering of others. Well, Rick, this has been fantastic, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on. You have a huge social media influence. So if you could, if people want to reach you, contact you, what's the best way to do so?
yeah,
It's at the.recovery.club.
yeah,
And you also have a book. I'm sorry, we didn't even
yeah.
get to that. 12 Steps to Freedom, correct?
Yeah, I wrote a book a while ago, and the biggest part of my Instagram, I know we spoke about earlier, is writing. I do a lot of writing.
Yeah, you're a great writer.
I share my writings, and like you also said, no sugarcoating. I think it's important we acknowledge it, and a lot of my writings address that pain, and people can read them, and they can feel not alone.
Yes, they can read it and feel just, even if it's 1% less alone, then we've done our job
Yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much, Rick, for coming on the Willpower Podcast with Will Gordon, guys. Please check out his Instagram at the.recovery.club and DM him freedom for his blueprint. Okay. And you'll find out what that is. Thanks again, man, for coming on. It's been a privilege. And
Appreciate
guys,
you.
if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to donate to the show, there's a buy me a coffee link. I would so appreciate that, especially around the Christmas time. Yeah, when things are tight, which I know everything's tight for everyone, but if you can, that'd be awesome. And yeah, guys, TikTok, Will Gordon Sober, Instagram at the Willpower Podcast, Twitter or X, whatever, at the Willpower Pod, guys. And yeah, please find me, reach out, send a DM, whatever. I answer everyone. Be on the lookout, guys, for many, many more episodes, and happy holidays, everyone.
See you later, guys.